Have you ever, stopped and wondered what's actually going on up here inside your head when you're typing something into ChatGPT?
Or even just, searching online for answers.
Exactly. We're talking about AI, right? It's become this sort of ultimate co-pilot for your brain for so many people.
It's a huge shift, really, how we find information, how we even create things. It's more than just a simple tool now.
Totally integrated. And today we're doing a deep dive into some really fascinating new research. They actually literally tracked brain activity.
In real time.
Yeah, to see how using these large language models, like ChatGPT, or maybe just sticking to traditional search engines, or even just using your own brain, how that changes you cognitively when you're doing something complex like writing an essay. So our mission today, we want to unpack these pretty surprising neural shifts they found and look at the impacts on memory, which are kind of wild.
And even those deeper questions, right? Like, who really owns the ideas when AI is involved?
Yeah.
It affects how you learn, how you work, how you think.
Definitely. And all the insights we're digging into today, they come from this really rigorous new study.
Right. It's called Your Brain on ChatGPT: Accumulation of Cognitive Debt when Using an AI Assistant for Essay Writing Tasks. Came out of a collaboration between MIT Media Lab, Wellesley College, and Massart.
Cutting edge stuff, exactly what we need to start understanding this whole AI relationship better.
Yeah, evidence-based.
Okay, so let's get into the setup. How did they actually run this study? Because the how really matters for understanding the results,
For sure. They got 54 participants, mostly university students, typical age range, 18 to 39, from around the Boston area.
Right, the usual suspects for these kinds of studies, and they put them through their paces with essay writing tasks.
You did. And they split them really carefully into 3 groups.
Okay, what were the groups?
First, you had the LLM group. They could only use OpenAI's GPT-4o. That was it. No Google, no other websites, just the AI.
Pretty strict constraint there. Okay, group 1 is AI only. What about group 2?
Group 2 was the search engine group. They could use, any website they wanted. Google was apparently the favorite.
Makes sense.
But no LLMs allowed for them. And the researchers were really clever. They actually added AI to the participants' search queries automatically.
Oh, wow. To filter out AI results?
Exactly. To keep it purely traditional search.
Yeah.
Shows how careful they were trying to be.
That's some serious control. Okay, and the third group. My personal favorite, I think.
Yes. The brain-only group. That's just what it sounds like. No tools, no internet, just their own knowledge, their own heads.
Pure human cognition under pressure. Love it. Okay, so these 3 groups, how many times did they do this?
We each did 3 writing sessions, sticking with their assigned tool, or lack thereof. But then, session 4, that's where it got really interesting.
The plot twists, the switch up.
Exactly. They changed the rules on them. The LLM group, the ones used to having AI help. Suddenly, session 4, they had to go brain only.
Oof. Cold turkey.
Yep. They called that condition LLM to brain. And conversely, the brain-only group, who'd been relying just on themselves,
They got the AI.
they got the AI, became the brain to LLM group.
Okay, and here's the really cool part, right? They didn't tell them beforehand about the switch.
Nope. Walked in expecting the same old thing. And get this, they even had them write about topics they'd already covered in earlier sessions.
Oh, that's smart. So you can really see how the tool itself, or the lack of it, changes things when the topic is familiar.
Precisely. It isolates the effect of the tool change.
So how did they actually see what was going on in the brain and measure everything else?
Right, so the main tool for the brain stuff was EEG electroencephalography.
Okay, the cap with all the wires, measuring electrical activity.
That's the one. It basically listens to the electrical chatter between brain cells. Gives you a really good picture, moment by moment, of how active and connected different brain areas are.
Got it. What else?
They also used NLP, natural language processing, to analyze the essays themselves, looking for patterns in the language.
Makes sense, like word choice, sentence structure.
Yep. And human teachers who didn't know which group was which scored the essays, plus an AI judge. And finally, they interviewed everyone after each session, asked them how it felt, what they thought.
Okay, that's comprehensive. EEG, NLP, human scoring, AI scoring, interviews, covered all the bases. But why essay writing? Seems kind of specific.
It's actually perfect for this.
Yeah.
Essay writing is super complex cognitively. You're juggling ideas, structuring arguments, finding the right words, checking grammar.
Right, it puts a big load on your working memory.
Exactly. Demands a lot. So it's a great scenario to see how an external tool like AI or search might shift that mental load around, how the brain adapts.
Okay, that makes total sense. It's a cognitive heavy lift. So let's get to the juicy part. The brain waves. What did the EEG actually show? What was the big picture?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this. The main finding, really consistent across the board, was this. The more external help a group had,
Like AI or search.
right, the less widespread and intense their brain connectivity was.
Less connected, so the brain was quieter.
In a way, yeah,
Yeah.
less overall intrinsic coupling between different brain regions. It's an inverse relationship. More tools, less widespread brain chatter.
Wow. So the brain-only group, they must have had brains firing like crazy then.
Absolutely. They showed the strongest, most widely distributed connections across multiple frequency bands to alpha, theta, and delta.
Can you break those down quickly? Alpha, theta, delta?
Sure. So alpha waves are often linked to being calm but alert, focus attention, memory access. Theta is more about deeper memory retrieval, creativity, that aha moment kind of thinking. And delta is usually seen in really deep thought, maybe more intuitive processing.
Okay. So seeing strong activity in all three means?
It means their brains were really engaged, pulling from deep memory, processing language intensely, using executive functions like planning and judging, constantly self-monitoring, like their brain's entire orchestra playing a complex piece, all sections fully involved.
Right. Full cognitive workout. Okay, what about the search engine group? They were in the middle.
They were. Intermediate engagement overall. But what was noticeable with them was increased activity, specifically in visual and occipital regions.
Back of the head, visual processing.
Exactly. Which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They're actively scanning screens, reading text, evaluating images, selecting information visually. Their effort was focused on processing that external visual stream.
Less internal generation, more external filtering.
Kind of, yeah. Compared to the brain-only group.
Okay. And then the LLM group, the AI users. Based on the pattern, their brains were pretty chilled out.
Relatively speaking, in terms of this widespread connectivity, yes, they showed the weakest overall coupling, particularly their low-frequency connectivity, the alpha and theta bands.
The memory and attention ones.
Yeah, those were significantly lower. It really points towards major cognitive offloading. The brain is letting the AI do a lot of the heavy lifting, usually involved in idea generation and structuring.
Like parts of the orchestra just took a break, put their instruments down.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. Or just playing much simpler parts, letting the AI conductor take over the complex bits.
Wow, that's quite a finding. Okay, but then session 4 happened, the switch up. What happened to the LLM to brain folks, the ones who lost their AI crutch? Did their brains just like sputter?
This is really telling. When those participants had to write solo after getting used to the AI, their EEG showed weaker neural connectivity, especially an underengagement of alpha and, interestingly, beta networks.
Beta waves. What are those associated with?
Beta is typically linked to active thinking, concentration, problem solving, conscious mental effort.
So less beta activity means less active thinking.
It suggests that, yeah, it raises this really important question. Did their brains adapt so much to offloading those functions that they struggled to ramp them back up when the AI was gone?
Like a muscle that hasn't been worked, cognitive atrophy.
That's the concern it raises. It's not just hypothetical. There seems to be a neural signature for it.
Okay, that's a bit worrying. What about the flip side? The brain to LLM group, people who wrote solo and then got AI, did their brains just like sigh in relief and quiet down?
Fascinatingly, no. Completely the opposite. These participants showed a huge spike in brain activity, network-wide, across all the bands, alpha, beta, theta, delta.
Whoa. So getting AI help made their brains work harder. How does that work?
The interpretation is that integrating the AI's output after having relied solely on their own internal thought processes is actually a really demanding cognitive task. Their brains seem to be working overtime to compare, contrast, evaluate, and reconcile the AI's suggestions with their own knowledge and ideas.
So it's not just passively accepting the AI text, it's an active integration process that fires up the brain.
It appears so, at least for those who started without AI. It suggests integrating external AI input into an existing internal framework is neurally quite intensive.
That's a really critical distinction. It's not just using AI, but how you come to it. Okay, so that's the brain activity. But what about the results? The essays themselves, and how people felt. The memory thing you mentioned earlier sounds wild.
Yeah, the memory and quoting results were stark, especially for the LLM group. In the very first session, 83% of them couldn't provide a single correct quote from the essay they had just finished working on with the AI.
83% couldn't remember one sentence correctly.
Correct, and absolutely none of them could provide any correct quote. Zero.
Wow. Compared to the others.
The brain-only and search engine groups, they had strong quoting abilities, easily recall phrases and sentences.
Okay, that is a huge difference. It really suggests that if you're not doing the hard work of generating and structuring the ideas yourself, you just don't encode it. It doesn't stick.
Seems like it. The deep processing required for memory formation might be getting bypassed. Some LLM participants even said things like, the AI's long sentences make it hard to memorize, or they felt tired this time compared to last time after using the LLM.
Tired from just reading and editing AI text. That's interesting. Maybe it's a different kind of cognitive load.
Could be. Or maybe just less engaging, leading to less retention. It definitely impacted their feeling of ownership, too.
Ah, right. Did they feel like the essays were theirs?
Big differences again.
Yeah.
The brain-only group felt almost total ownership. Like 16 out of 18 in session 1 said fully mine, and by session 3 it was unanimous, 18 out of 18.
Makes sense. They did all the work.
The search engine group also felt strong ownership, maybe slightly less, but still high.
Yeah.
The LLM group, though, much more fragmented.
How so?
Some claimed full ownership, sure, but many said it was partial. They'd use percentages like, oh, it was 50-50, or maybe 90% mine, 10% the AIs.
A diminished sense of cognitive agency, the study called it, like being a co-author with a machine.
Exactly. Which has all sorts of psychological implications, right? For creativity, responsibility.
Totally. If you feel less ownership, maybe you feel less drive to make it truly original. Speaking of which, how unique were the essays? Could you tell the AI ones apart?
Statistically, yes. The LLM group's essays within a specific topic were much more similar to each other. Homogeneous. Significantly less variation than the other groups.
So the AI tends to produce similar outputs even for different users on the same prompt.
It seems so. And the human teachers, remember, they didn't know who was in which group. They could often spot the AI essays.
What do they say about them?
They used words like soulless, conventional, lacking personal nuances or creativity, even if they were grammatically perfect.
Soulless, ouch, but kind of captures it, right? Technically fine, but missing that human spark.
While the brain-only essays were all over the place, much more variable, more original, reflecting individual minds at work.
And this difference showed up even in specific word choices, didn't it? Like the tools were nudging them.
Definitely. The analysis found clear linguistic fingerprints. For instance, the LLM group used the most named entities, specific proper nouns like Matisse or RSD.
Like AI pulls in specific facts readily.
Seems like it. The brain-only group used about 60% fewer of those specific NERs. And looking at common phrases, N-grams. LLM essays tended towards third-person language and phrases like choose career, very functional, typical AI style.
So AI has its own, default voice. What about the other groups?
The search engine essays, especially for a topic like philanthropy, were full of terms you'd expect to see high up in search results, like homeless person, reflecting what the search algorithms surface.
So influenced by the information landscape online?
Right, and the brain-only essays. They often had more introspective phrases, things like true happy or benefit other, freedom, liberty, more diverse, more internal, sometimes more personal language.
Wow, it really shows how the tool shapes the thought, down to the vocabulary. How did the participants feel about using these tools? Did the LLM users feel weird about it?
Some did. In the interviews, some mentioned feeling guilty using the AI. Others found the output robotic and hard to make their own.
But here's that kicker, again from session 4. The LLM users who had to go solo, they actually preferred their solo essay.
Isn't that something? Yeah, the LLM to brain participants, after writing without AI, often said they preferred that essay because they could add more and elaborate more of my ideas and thoughts.
Whoa. So even after offloading the work, there's something satisfying about engaging your own brain fully again. Like that mental workout felt good.
It really suggests an inherent drive for genuine intellectual effort and personal expression that maybe the ease of AI comes at the cost of that satisfaction.
Okay, so pulling all this together, what's the big takeaway here for you listening, trying to figure out how to use these tools? There's a clear trade-off, right?
Absolutely. LLMs are efficient, they save time, they can generate text quickly. Huge advantages there, undeniable.
Yeah.
But it comes with this cognitive cost.
Right, the study makes it clear it's not just if you get the essay done, it's how you do it that shapes your brain.
Exactly. And that shaping might not always be for the better in the long run.
Which brings us to this idea of cognitive debt. What does that mean practically? Are we racking up debt by using AI too much?
That's the core concept, yeah. Think of it like borrowing mental effort now. It feels easier in the short term, you get the task done faster, but you're deferring the actual cognitive work, the brainstorming, the structuring, the critical thinking that actually builds those mental muscles.
So the long-term cost could be weaker critical thinking, less creativity.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Skill atrophy, the researchers call it. If you constantly outsource the fundamental cognitive processes, those skills might weaken over time. Like skipping workouts easier now, weaker later.
Convenience now, cognitive costs later. That's a sobering thought. And what about this idea of echo chambers, AI creating new kinds?
The different flavor of echo chamber than social media, maybe? But think about it. Search engines usually give you a list of diverse links, different perspectives you have to sift through and synthesize.
Yeah, you see the variety.
LLMs often give you one synthesized answer. Plausible, coherent, but potentially flattening out nuance, conflict, or alternative views. It can filter information in a way that discourages exploring different angles.
So you might not even realize you're only getting one slice of the pie, trading diversity of thought for convenience again.
That's the risk. And there's one more cost, a surprising one maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Energy. Actual electricity.
Wait, using ChatGPT uses more power?
Significantly more, according to the research they cited.
As in full.
LLM query uses roughly 10 times the energy of a traditional web search query.
10 times, wow. So this cognitive offloading has a literal energy footprint too, something we don't really think about.
Nope, it's kind of a hidden cost to the user and the environment.
Okay, my brain feels like it's getting a workout just processing all this. So the study isn't saying AI bad, don't use it, is it?
No, definitely not. It's not anti-AI. It's really arguing for a balanced approach.
Yeah.
Use AI. It's powerful, great for routine stuff, for assistance, but be intentional about it. Make sure you don't outsource the core cognitive work all the time.
Like, still do your own brainstorming first, your own outlining, your own critical revision.
Exactly. Those fundamental mental operations. Idea generation, organizing thoughts, evaluating arguments, refining text. Those are the mental muscles you need to keep exercising actively. Don't let them atrophy just because the AI makes it easy to skip the workout.
Right. Keep those core thinking skills sharp. So AI is this incredibly powerful co-pilot, no doubt. But really understanding what it does to us, not just for us, that seems crucial.
It's the key distinction. How does it change the pilot, not just help the plane fly?
Yeah. And it leaves us with this kind of heavy final thought, right? If our brains literally adapt to the tools we use, what kind of thinkers are we becoming?
As we rely more and more on these external intelligences.
Are there valuable cognitive skills we're just letting fade away without even realizing it? Because it's just so convenient not to use them.
It's a profound question for all of us moving forward in this AI age. It really calls for mindfulness about how we use these tools.
Totally. So we really encourage you, listening right now, think about your own digital habits. How are you using AI in your work, your learning?
And how can you make sure you're still giving your own brain that essential workout it needs to stay strong, creative, and critical?
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today, exploring where our brains meet AI.
It's been fascinating.
Until next time, keep digging, keep asking questions, and yeah, keep thinking for yourself.